Children, this is Ritu Tamrate, and you're watching my channel Literature with Ritu. So, once again, I have come with a new poem which is called Daffodils, and this is a poem of a romantic age written by William Wordsworth. Actually, this poem uh, this poem has been written in 1804. Fine. uh, Inspired by an event. Once what happened, it was on 15th April 1802. Wordsworth, along with his sister Dorothy, I think, if I'm not mistaken, uh, they all of them were wandering here and there aimlessly without any purpose. All of a sudden, they came across a long belt of daffodils, so beautiful, flowers called daffodils. They came across this belt of daffodils, and they were traveling at that time. They were traveling along the edges of a lake in the Lake District of England. So once again, it has appeared. Okay. So it was at that time they came across a lot of flowers called daffodils, but after 2 years, Wordsworth came across these daffodils or these beautiful flowers in 1802, but he wrote the poem after 2 years, that was in 1804. So this context, why I told you about this, which will this will come later in our poem. I mean, the importance of this matter which I have told you right now. The what was the importance, or what's the importance of this matter which I have informed you about. So this will come in the, maybe in I think in the third or fourth stanza of the poem, right? So it's a beautiful poem about nature. As I have already informed you that Wordsworth was a romantic poet, and romantic poets used to love, this is the theme of romantic age, that poets uh, would love the beauty of nature, and they would love writing about all the aspects of nature, right? So Wordsworth was one of them, and he also used to love nature a lot, and he used to write about uh, like anything he used to write that must have been about, or that must have been somehow or the other related with the nature of the beauty. Fine, so let's get started. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. So, here I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills. So, one day what happened? So I wandered lonely as a cloud. So what happened? The poet says here that one day what happened, as he was wandering, as I have already informed you that he actually was traveling here and there, or he was wandering aimlessly in 1802, and 2 years later he wrote this poem. So here the poet has written everything in past speech, sorry, past tense. So the poet says, but however, we are going to explain the poem in present tense itself. If you like, or if you're, it all depends on your question, what types of questions you are getting out of this poem. So depending upon the question, the kind of question you are getting, or the kind of tense you are getting your questions, so you have to write down the answers in the same tense, right? So let's start. The poet says that one day what happens, when he was wandering aimlessly, or you could also say that the poet was roaming without, I mean, the poet was roaming here and there without any purpose, and he was wandering aimlessly like a vagabond. So what happened at that time? uh, what happened at that time? All at once I saw a crowd of, so he came across a lot of daffodils, a large number of daffodils. So first of all, here we are going to focus that floats, he is comparing himself, the poet is comparing himself with a solitary cloud. Solitary means alone, a lonely cloud. Actually, a lonely cloud also floats over the hills and valleys. It also, like I'm talking about the cloud also roams about here and there over valleys and hills, and all over the sky. It just floats, it keeps floating here and there. Fine. So the poet has compared himself with a solitary cloud like that. Right now I have explained. So this is a kind of simile. Simile means this is a figure of a speech the poet has used here. That the poet, simile is what? Simile, when you compare or the poet compares anything with something else. I mean, both the things have somehow or the other have got same qualities. Then in that case, you can call it as simile. The poet has. Maybe you will have a question like what kind of a simile the poet has used over here. So the poet has used. The poet has compared himself with a solitary cloud, in the same way when if when a cloud or like when a cloud floats over here and there over hills and valleys, in the same way the poet was also roaming around here and there aimlessly without any purpose, and he was roaming around here and there like a vagabond. Vagabond means a person wanders here and there aimlessly without any purpose. So such a person is called vagabond. So you can use this word also, right? So when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils. Then what happened? All of a sudden he comes across a large number of daffodils beside the lake. Beside the lake, it is not written here, but in this coming stanzas you will come to know also. You will come to know about the lake also. So he was all of a sudden he came across large number of daffodils beside the lake, and a host of golden daffodils. Here you can see these two words, crowd and host. Crowd means we know when a group of people, a large number of group of people is present somewhere, then we call it as crowd. Host, the same meaning. Fine. So here the poet has used these two words, crowd and host, for golden daffodils. So why I am emphasizing upon it? I'm emphasizing because the poet has used personification over here. Okay, so what is personification? Personification means when you give some human attributes or human qualities to something which is not human. So obviously daffodils are not human beings, are they? They are not human beings, but even then the poet is trying to give some human qualities to the daffodils. How? That he is using this word crowd and host. So crowd means a large group, a group of or a large number of people. When they're together over some place, then we call it as crowd. So these words, or host, same meaning. These two words poet has used for golden daffodils. So here the poet is trying to personify the golden daffodils, right? Beside the lake. Oh, okay. Here itself, beside the lake, the poet was wandering beside the lake, or on the edges, or on the shore of the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. So beneath the trees, what were there? Beneath the trees, there were golden daffodils beneath the trees. That means what? Golden daffodils were smaller in size in comparison to the trees. That is why it is written that beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. So what is the meaning of fluttering? Let me tell you. Fluttering means flapping or waving quickly but irregularly. Fluttering means, we also use this word for our flag, right? Flag, we use this word fluttering for flag, because flag flaps or waves quickly but irregularly. So here the word has been used, which is fluttering, for daffodils, because they are also fluttering, right? They are also flapping and waving quickly but in irregular manner. So the poet has used this word fluttering over here. So dancing also, what they are doing? they are dancing in the bridge. So once again the poet is trying to personify the daffodils or these flowers which are called daffodils, in the sense that they are fluttering like wings of birds or angels, right? They are fluttering like wings of birds or angels. We might have seen birds sometimes, they flap their wings, or they wave their wings so quickly and irregularly, right? So we might have seen these birds somewhere. But angel, I have used this word, we might have seen some angels not in real life, but we might have seen some angels in our television show, like in some fantastic melodrama. So in those types of melodramas or soap operas, we might have seen some angels, they have got wings. So you can use these expressions or use these words in your uh, explanation while giving answers or while solving your RTCs, right? So they are dancing like, so dancing word which has been used for daffodils, of course. But who dances? Human beings dance, right? A human being dances. So here also once again the poet is trying to personify daffodils by giving them or by attributing them some human qualities like dancing as well. Here also crowd, host, these words have been used for golden daffodils, and this also shows that the poet has tried to personify the golden daffodils. So it's an indication that it was a breezy day, right? It was a breezy day, and you can well imagine the overall scenario, the overall landscape, where valleys were there, hills were there, lake was there, trees, flowers, a breezy type of atmosphere. Like, poet has just tried to describe a real natural scenario, right? So this is the real theme of romantic poet or romantic age, in which the poet has written this poem, right? So let's go to the next stanza. uh, yeah. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in never ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 eyes saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. So, continuous means here the poet has used a word continuous. Continuous as stars. Poet has once again tried to compare, or once again he has used a simile, because he has tried to compare the daffodils with the stars, or somehow or the other the poet has got an everlasting impact on his mind, the time he came across these daffodils, because he has tried to compare daffodils with stars, and he's trying to say that daffodils are as heavenly as stars. So you could write all these in your explanation. So they are unending like stars. That is why this word continuous you could write. They are unending like stars. When you look at the sky, can you uh, count the number of stars? No, we cannot count the number of stars. In the same way, these daffodils or these flowers are also continuous, and we cannot count their numbers, or how much huge number of daffodils were present over there. Just like stars, they also twinkle here, twinkle, uh, or they are also shining, uh, as they are golden in color. See, golden color we have already seen. See, golden daffodils. So just like our stars twinkle on the Milky Way. Milky Way word the poet has used because our galaxy, the name of our galaxy is Milky Way. So the writer or the poet must be talking about the stars in our own galaxy. So just in the same way stars twinkle in the sky or in the Milky Way, in the same way these daffodils are also twinkling. These daffodils are also shining as they are of golden colors, and as the rays of the sun fall upon them, and in the light of the sun they also start twinkling or shining like stars. So they stretched in never ending line along the margin of a bay. So they stretched in never ending line means they are ceaseless, they are unceasing. You could write these two words for never ending, they are ceaseless or unceasing. Margin of the bay means along the bay, means bay has been used, this word has been used for the lake, right? And margin of a bay means the edges of the lake. So they were unending on the edges of the lake, they were unceasing or they were ceaseless on the edges of the lake. So you could also write in this way that they are never ending. The poet could see, or they are visible as far as he could see along the uh, shore or edges of the lake. What does this mean? This means that they are never ending. The poet could see them as far as his sight could go. That means they were never ending, they were ceaseless. Now 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. 10,000. See, the poet is trying to say that they were 10,000 in numbers. So, is it possible for anybody to figure out the number of such huge things, like if we talk about the example of these flowers themselves? Is it possible for anyone to figure out the exact number of them, when the fact is that they are in abundance? The real number or the real count of these flowers is impossible to be figured out, to be counted. So what is the poet trying to do? The poet is trying to exaggerate, right? So this is a kind of exaggerating the number of flowers. So what is the poet trying to do? The poet is trying to exaggerate the number of flowers. So this is because why the poet is trying to do so? Because the poet is overjoyed. Okay, the poet is overjoyed. He was filled with excessive happiness in his heart. So this is a type of exaggeration, and you could also call it as hyperbole. So what is hyperbole? Hyperbole is a type of statement or claims that could never be taken true literally. I mean, that could never be true literally. If you talk about it literally, could it be true? So in that case it can never be true. So that is called exaggeration or hyperbole. So the poet has used hyperbole or exaggeration in this sentence, that 10,000 he 10,000 of daffodils were present over there, and they were countless. I mean, of course they were countless. This is what the poet wants to tell us, that the number of daffodils was countless. It was huge, it was enormous. So tossing their heads in sprightly dance. Now what is the meaning of tossing? Tossing means they were they were striking their heads against one another, right? They were striking their heads one another in the happiness, in the kind of joy they were in, with which they were dancing. So daffodils were dancing, of course, with joy, with happiness, with a lot of delight, and while doing so they were tossing their heads against one another. So uh, next is, so that was quite amazing, and the poet thinks that they are dancing. The poet thinks that, of course, when he saw them tossing their heads once against one another, so the poet thinks that they are dancing. So once again the poet, as I have already told you, that the poet is trying to personify the daffodil. So here also in this line also you could say that the poet is trying to personify the daffodils, as he is trying to say that daffodils are tossing their heads. Now of course, daffodils do not have their heads, right? Only human beings have got their heads, right? So again the poet is trying to personify the daffodils, and he's saying that, like, in a state of being overjoyed, the daffodils are dancing and they are tossing their heads against one another. Now, here in the third stanza, the poet says the waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. So the waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. So first two lines, let's focus on first two lines. Like, the poet is trying to say once again that the waves in the lake also, they were also dancing. On the one hand he's saying that daffodils were dancing, but on the other hand, waves in the lake also were dancing, right? But I mean, the waves also in the lake were dancing, or they were also looking gleeful or overjoyed. But the flowers were dancing in much better way than the waves in the lake, right? So the poet is trying to say that the way the flowers were dancing was way better than the way, uh, the waves in the lakes were dancing, right? So here, once again you can see how the poet was overjoyed, or he was full of happiness by uh, seeing daffodils, that he uh, was unable to see the beauty of waves with which they were dancing in the lakes, but he was so overjoyed, or he was so blind in love with the daffodils or the beauty of daffodils, that he was unable to. Just a minute. So there was somebody's call, so I have forgotten where I was actually. A poet could not but gay. No, here I was, I think, yes. So, yes, the poet was so overjoyed, or the poet was so blind in love with the beauty of daffodils, that he could not see the beauty in the waves, which were also dancing along with the daffodils. So, he was so blind, or he had become so blind in the beauty of the daffodils, that he could not see any other beauty in the nature. Like, of course, he was aware of the other types of beauty also, but he was trying to emphasize only on the beauty of daffodils. He was trying to emphasize only the way daffodils were dancing. Only he was trying to emphasize the way, daffodils were acting, or whatever daffodils were doing, right? Because he was so blind in love with, or he was so blind in the in the so he was so blind with the beauty of daffodils, right? So after that, a poet could but be gay in such a jocund company. So let me see if there is any uh, word which I have to give you. Yes, glee. So the word glee and sparkling waves. So for the word sparkling, you could write reflecting light, as if uh, giving off tiny sparks. So sparkling waves, the meaning of sparkling waves is this. And the glee, you could write joy, happiness, great delight, right? So you could use this word in place of glee: joy, happiness, great delight. After that, come to the second two lines. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. Now, as a poet like Wordsworth, who was a romantic poet, what could be more joyful than the company of nature? What could be more joyful? What could be more, what could be more mm, uh, something which could something which could give him more happiness than the beautiful company of nature, the beautiful company of those beautiful daffodils, right? So uh, here the poet could not but be gay. Gay means also happy, lively. So the poet wants to say that he was very happy, or he was overjoyed, or he was light hearted in the company of the uh, daffodils. And jocund means, jocund you could write, jocund you could write jovial, exuberant, cheerful, and light-hearted. I have already used this word light-hearted, right? So here the company of daffodils was the source of ultimate joy and pleasure and ecstasy to the poet, right? So let's go to the fourth stanza. Sorry, still two lines are left. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. So once again two phones. Today I got disturbed a lot. Anyways, let's start. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. So the poet here says that he kept looking at them, or at the flowers, of course, but the poet, he says that he says that he kept looking at the flowers, but he it was not possible for him to appreciate the beauty of the nature in its fullest. I mean, in the fullest sense, right? In the in its full sense, right? So because the poet thinks that he cannot do so, he cannot appreciate the beauty of the nature in its fullest sense, because he cannot do so. Again, once again he is trying to exaggerate, because the beauty of nature is so huge, so enormous, that it's not possible for a person to appreciate the beauty of nature. And of course it is, of course the beauty of nature is so huge, and the aspects, different aspects of the beauty of nature are so enormous or so huge that it's not possible for a human being to see each and every aspect of nature and appreciate them, right? So this is what the poet wants to say, that it's not possible for him to appreciate the beauty of nature in its fullest sense. He gazed at the just a minute. He gazed at the flowers as he was moved and charmed by their beauty, forgetting all his surroundings. You could also write like this, right? He gazed means, gazing at something means, if you are gazing at something, you look at it fixedly without taking any notice about the surroundings. As I have already uh, uh, taken notice of this when he was comparing the waves, or the dancing of the waves with the dancing of the daffodils, that he was not able to find any beauty in the dancing of the waves, right? At that time, a short while back, I explained that he was unable to find out any beauty in the dancing of the waves, but he was trying to focus only upon the dancing, or the way the daffodils were dancing, right? So you could say that the poet was so amazed, or the poet was so charmed with the beauty of daffodils, that he was not in a state of taking notice of his surroundings, or he was unable to find any beauty in its surroundings, or in the surroundings of the daffodils. So at that time he also thought that he actually, see this line, what wealth the show to me had brought, right? So here the poet is trying to say that at that time when he was present in the company of daffodils, he was unable to think the kind of beauty, sorry, unable to think the kind of wealth it was it the unable to he was unable to think about the kind of wealth the daffodils, the or the dancing of daffodils or the company of daffodils were trying to give him, right? He was unable to recognize or he was unable to register this fact at that time when he was present in the company of daffodils. At that time he was unable to register the kind of wealth he was obtaining or the kind of wealth he was getting out in the company of daffodils. So this I told you in the beginning of the poem, that I explained this, that actually he was in the company of daffodils in 1802, but he wrote the poem in 1804, right? So this is what, and I also told you at that moment of time that this I am explaining because the related things we are going to have in the later stanzas of our poem. So this is what it is, that the kind of wealth he was getting at that moment of time, he was unable to realize that, he was unable to register the fact. But later, after 2 years, he was in the company of daffodils in 1802, but he wrote the poem in 1804. So in 1802, when he was actually in the company of daffodils, he was unable to register the kind of wealth he was having. But later in 2 years, after 2 years, he actually realized that what kind of happiness or what kind of joy or what kind of bliss he had got in the company of daffodils 2 years back. So how it happened, this we are going to have in our next stanza. See, this is the next stanza. So first of all, okay, I have given you all these synonyms. So this is our next stanza. Just a minute. So, for oft when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude, and dances. And then my heart with pleasure feels and dances with the daffodils. Right? So, here I have told you that what kind of wealth he was having at that time, or he was obtaining at that time. He could not realize that fact. After 2 years, he realized the kind of wealth he had obtained or the kind of wealth he had achieved out there in the company of, or in the jocund company of daffodils. So what is the meaning of wealth? Wealth doesn't mean like wealth, riches. Wealth means the happiness and the pleasant moment, the pleasant memories that he enjoyed for long time, in the company of daffodils, right? So this is the wealth he had achieved in the company of daffodils, but he did not realize this wealth or register this wealth in the company of daffodils when he was really in the company of daffodils, but he realized this in 1804, right? 2 years later. So how he realized? See, for oft whenever on my couch I lie in vacant or pensive mood, meaning, just a minute. The poet says, one day what happened, when he was lying on his bed, right, or in a pensive mood, or he was in a kind of thoughtful or vacant mood, or maybe he was in his low spirits, like he was sorrowful, or he was like when he was down with some thoughts, or he was not feeling well. At that time, what happened? Vacant, pensive. So pensive you could write melancholic mood, or great sadness. Or couch means you could write bed or resting place. So when one day what happened, when the poet was lying on the bed, so and he was in his melancholic mood, then what happened? They flash upon the inward eye, which is a bliss of the solitude. Then what happened? These daffodils suddenly came in his memory, right? In his inward eye. Inward eye means in his inner eyes. So their memory in his inner eyes then became the source of joy in his solitude, in his loneliness. his heart was then filled with pleasure and starts dancing with the daffodils, the way daffodils were dancing, at that moment of time, or when he was in the real company of daffodils after 2 years. So when the memory of daffodils came across, or came his way, or came to his memory, then his heart was filled with a lot of joy, a lot of happiness, and all his solitude means his loneliness went away. All his solitude was no more, and he was filled with a lot of great happiness as soon as the memory of daffodils came in his memory. In this way, the poet says that the memory of the flowers becomes his companion in his solitude, and taking away all his sorrows and boredom makes his spirit dance with them. Right? So you could write like this, that the memory of the flowers, at that moment of time when he was completely alone, and he was in a state of loneliness, or he was in a state of solitude, at that moment of time the flowers, or the memory of flowers, became his friends, and the memory of flowers took away all his sorrows and boredom, and the memories of flowers made him so happy. Right? And then my heart with pleasure feels and dances with the daffodils. Right? So you could write like this. So bliss of solitude, I once again would like to tell you the meaning of bliss of solitude. If suppose in your RTCs you get this expression, what is the meaning of bliss of solitude, then you could write that a blessing of staying alone. When somebody is, now the memories of flowers had become the bliss of solitude. That means whenever the poet was unhappy, or he was in a dismal mood, or he was unhappy, or he was in a pensive mood, melancholic mood, then at that moment of time the memories of flowers used to become blessings for him whenever he was alone. So this is what is called the bliss of solitude. Right? So this poem shows how the poet's intense feelings about the daffodils uh, became uh, became his friends at the time when he was alone, when he was in a complete solitude, the state of solitude. Right? So this is the, this poem is very famous poem in the history of English literature, written by Wordsworth. So here the poem ends, written by William Wordsworth. So if you like my ways of teaching, my ways of explanation, do like my videos, and do subscribe to my channel, and press the bell icon which is just right next to the subscribe button, and we will again meet with a new chapter, new poem, or it could be a new poem, it could be a new chapter. Till then, bye bye.